journey. 64 years of freedom from the shackles of British colonialism. Reflecting on the journey so far amidst contemporary realities, too many questions are lingering in the lips of many Nigerians. Is there a cause for celebration? Is there hope for better days with protests rocking different parts of the country? On the supposed memorable day to reflect on the past in the hands of the colonial masters. Today's episode of the program, Political Insights, focuses on Nigeria at 64, the journey so far. Warm welcome on the program. Jude Awoke is my name. Episode of the program, we'll be discussing a lot of issues. We're taking a look at the journey so far as Nigeria commemorates 64th independence anniversary. Of course, I will not be here in the studio all alone. I'll be joined by a number of guests to do justice to several issues. But just before then, we begin with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's nationwide broadcast to Nigerians, where he acknowledged, among other issues, the untold hardship plaguing the nation under his watch as the president and his administration's efforts to change the narrative.
As I address you today, I am deeply aware of the struggles many of you face in these challenging times. Our administration knows that many of you struggle with rising costs and the search for meaningful employment. I want to assure you that your voices are heard. As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. My administration took over leadership of our country 16 months ago at a critical juncture. The economy faced many headwinds, and our physical security highly impaired. We found ourselves at a distant crossroad where we must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on the business as usual and collapse. We decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture. On the security front, I am happy to announce to you, my compatriots, that our administration is winning the war on terror and banditry. Our target is to eliminate all threats of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the scourge of all forms of violent extremism. Within 1 year, our government has eliminated many Boko Haram and bandit commanders faster than ever. As of the last count, over 300 Boko Haram and bandit commanders have been eliminated by our gallant troops in the northeast, northwest, and some other part of the country. We have restored peace to hundreds of communities in the north, and thousands of our people have been able to return home. It is an unfinished business, I agree, which our security agencies are committed to ending as quickly as possible. As soon as we can restore peace to many communities in the troubled part of the north, our farmers can return to their farms. We expect to see a leap in food production and a downward spiral in food costs. I promise you, we shall not falter on this. Our country attracted foreign direct investment worth more than $30 billion in the last year. Fellow compatriots, our administration is committed to free enterprises, free entry, and free exit in investment while maintaining the sanctity and efficacy of our regulatory processes. This in line with the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. This was done in the same manner as other qualified divestment approved in the sector. The move will create vibrancy and increase oil and gas production positively, impacting our economy. The central concern of our people today is the high cost of living, especially food costs. This concern is shared by many around the globe as prices and the cost of living continue to rise worldwide. My fellow Nigerians, please be assured that we are implementing many measures to reduce the cost of living at home. I commend the governors, particularly in Kebbi, Niger, Jigawa, Kwara, Nasarawa, and other Southwest governors that have embraced our agricultural production program. I urge other states to join the federal government in investing in mechanized farming. We are playing our part by supplying fertilizer and making tractors and other farm equipment available. Last week, the Federal Executive Council approved establishing a local assembly plant for 2,000 John Deere tractors, combine harvesters, disc riders, bottom plows, and other farm equipment. The plant has a completion time of 6 months. Our energy transition program is on course. We are expanding the adoption of the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas for mass transit with private sector players. The federal government is ready to assist the 36 states and FCT in acquiring CNG buses for cheaper public transportation. Our government is implementing several other youth-centric programs to give our young people an advantage in rapid changing world.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu there, reading out the successes of his administration, though he acknowledged that Nigeria under his watch is going through a whole lot. But for now, let's take a look at residents in Benin City have continued to react to the celebration of Nigeria at 64. Is there cause for celebration? Victoria Comedia, our correspondents in this report, feel their pulse.
Its 64th independence anniversary. Today, citizens of the country have started reacting to how the nation has fared in the past 64 years. In Benin City, a cross-section of the residents who spoke to our news crew opined that there was nothing to celebrate as there was justification of progress in the nation's advancement in age.
Well, men looking at bad government, nothing to celebrate, nothing to think about Nigeria for now. The roads, many roads are bad. Look at the food stuff in the market. Everything is so costly. Bag of rice is how much?
Anything celebration as Nigeria it is today. It's no, I don't see anything reasonable and anything good.
No, we are celebrating 64 also. We are celebrating 64. Okay, even those on top, what did they think we have achieved that they want to celebrate? If I'm the president, I'm not saying anything. I will not celebrate. I will just mark it.
The respondents attributed the underdevelopment in the country to bad leadership in the country, who seemed to be indifferent to the plight of the citizens.
And our leaders, they are happy about it, and which is very bad. They don't even care about the masses. They are selfish.
The respondents therefore advised the political leaders to focus on projects that center on improving the lives of the populace, particularly job creation for the teeming youth, quality education, among others.
Nigeria is blessed. You understand? So I believe all our politicians, our administration should empower people. Let them have an enabling business environment where they can foster the ideas and all those things. Go back to education. Our education in Nigeria, they are too theoretical. It's not practical.
Victoria Ukwamedua reporting for VOS TV News.
Thank you, Victoria, for that report. Now, we joined here in the studio by Leo Atabo. Leo Atabo is the Deputy Executive Director of African Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ. Mr. Leo, thanks for joining us on the program.
Pleasure is mine.
Also here with us in the studio is Comrade James Sidubo. Comrade James Sidubo is the Edo State Council Chairman of TUC and ASUS. Thank you, sir, for joining us on the program, sir. So let's begin with you, Mr. Liu. Nigeria at 64. Where are we today?
Where we are today is far from where we ought to be in Nigeria. At independence, our population was around 44.5 million people, 45.5 million people. But today we have a population stretching around 233. From independence till date. You take the road, you take the history, you take the trajectory, everything. You find that We are not where we are supposed to be in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of health facility, the basic needs of life, food, clothes, and shelter. You see, Nigeria is one of the countries that you have so many people that, you know, are homeless around the world. You know, people who still sleep in marketplaces, who still sleep under the bridges, you know, people whose houses have been removed by natural disaster and nobody's caring for them, all over. Is it food? People have difficulty in getting basic food, good food to take in Nigeria. And the cost of living, as we hear even from Mr. President's broadcast, you know, is prohibitive. Nobody is able, people find it extremely, extremely difficult, you know, to access food, to access clothes, to access shelter. The roads in those days that we used to have, the days of yore, in the 60s, in the 70s, we had roads that took care of the 45.5 million Nigerians. The kind of road structure we had the government employed people that maintain those roads. You know, you have people who are employed by government to ensure that even grasses don't even clog the road. And so whatever roads that are available, they were passable roads. You know, there was maintenance of those road infrastructure. But today, with all what we expected to have been improvement in our life, even with the advent of crude oil in commercial quantity in the late 50s, you know, Nigeria, kind of road infrastructure you find these days, you find governors, you know, constructing roads with open drainages, you know, that still constitute, you know, disaster for people. You cannot, when they construct those roads, you know, it leads to accidents. Some drivers, even when the roads are flooded, and then people even throw refuse even to the. It's only in Nigeria I see those kind of roads all around the world. In cities where people live, cosmopolitan cities, you still construct roads with open drainages all around in the name of development. We expect that those drainages ought to have been covered. So you reduce the problem that people face in terms of, you know, throwing waste on those drainages in the first place. So when they throw those waste, they block the drain. So when flood comes, you know, everywhere is flooded. But even when you have drainage, you know, they are flooded. But that's a problem of every Nigerian as well, you know, because people throw refuse anyhow, and then government has not even come with a policy, you know, to ensure that people don't also behave in that manner. Across the world, we don't have that. So if you look at where we are coming from, my father in those days said when the white people were living,
yeah,
he told us that he was not going to work for a black man. You know, when they were living, he said he was not going to work for a black man. And today, my father, even though in the grave, you know, he stands vindicated, because the kind of government we have seen in this country, you know, horrible governments over the years. Just aside from the first year that we had the first civilian administration, when the colonial masters left Nigeria alone. From that time till now, it's been from one problematic administration to another. By next year, February, I will be 60. I look back to the kind of governments we have been having. Each government that comes, you say, oh, the past one was better. Each government that comes, you say the past two, the previous one was better. Why should we? We should be happy with the government that comes. Oh, this is far better than the one we had before. Oh, there was justification for even changing the government, you know, or the political party. But we don't have that. Each time you have a new government, you say, oh, if we knew, we would have allowed Buhari to remain. Maybe when it was Buhari, we say, oh, this is fire we are. Oh, the days of Jonathan, it was better. In the days of Jonathan, they say, hey, these corrupt people, they have finished this country. In the days of Jonathan, you say, oh, it was a Obasanjo era that was better. You just spit the traces of our history. And why? Because we have a class of political elites in Nigeria that just believe in themselves. They are not interested in the welfare of the ordinary, of the common people of Nigeria. They are not, in the real sense of the word. I hear Mr. President say today in his broadcast that he is aware, that he's conscious that Nigerians are going through. I'm not sure he's conscious. He just said that is just somebody wrote that speech for him to just broadcast it. I'm not sure he's aware of the kind of the level of suffering Nigerians are going through. Mr.
Tap,
President, I
Mr.
don't
Tap,
think he's aware.
we'll get to analyze the president's speech later. But for now, let me go to Comrade Atabu. Pardon, Comrade James. Now, we're taking a look at Nigeria at 64, the journey so far. Do you think there is need for celebration?
Well, first and foremost, I believe strongly that there is need for celebration. The reason is that for every government is a process. And again, for everything, for you having life at all, it's worth celebrating. For Nigeria to remain as one indivisible entity, it's worth celebrating. Yes, Nigeria might have been facing a lot of difficulties. That does not remove us from celebrating. Celebration is not just about it is good. Celebration is a thing of the mind, a culture that we need to have as an individual. As I look back, yes, process. Nobody talks about, in everything we do, we talk about outcome. Nobody look at the process. How we can be forced into
64 years.
64 years.
64 years.
64
And we're
years.
still talking about the process.
Yes.
We haven't gotten it. We haven't
Process
gotten.
will continue until this world ends. Because for everything you are doing, there is a steps to that end. And that is the more reason we need to celebrate. Mostly,
So we are not supposed to get it right by now at 64.
at 64, you are supposed to be getting it right. Even at that, I want to also say that, even at that, it is not where we are some years back. That's not where we are now. Because I also remember that in those days when we were growing up, we are not talking about digital and all the like. But now, some of all these are now in place. I am here now because it has been digitalized. And when you look at the entire thing, you cannot just say, okay, the government. Even we ourselves, what are we doing on our own end to ensure that all these things come to bear? The government makes policy. Do we follow the policy? The implementation is faulty. And that is the reason we are not actually getting it the way it ought to be. If policy is followed rightly, you will see that some of all these things will fall in place. Even at that, we know that everybody is passing through a lot of issues in Nigeria, but that does not remove the fact that we need to still be thankful to Almighty God who gave us life, who protects this nation to still remain as one. Many countries in the world, they never had such challenges as that of Nigeria, but they were a division, crisis, war everywhere. But God has kept us alive, so it's worth celebrating. That is my own opinion.
We'll still get to come back to you later. For now, let's take a look at the president's broadcast. What's your view on president broadcast?
Well, the president attempted to give hope to Nigerians and to plead with Nigerians to bear with his administration. That is expected. But the kind of economic policies that his administration has unleashed on Nigerians have brought untold hardship to the people. The president was not equipped; he was ill-equipped. You know, perhaps they were just after grabbing power, and after grabbing power, they also do not know what to do with the power. And so, before you come up with policies, you must think through the policy, the implication for the poor people, for the ordinary Nigerians. I'm not sure there was a proper, planning before the policy was unleashed. For instance, even before he took his oath of office, May 29 last year, the president did say that fuel subsidy is gone. And we all know the politics around fuel subsidy in Nigeria. You hear all kinds of, theorization around fuel subsidy. We are told sometimes that, market forces will determine the price. if they remove the subsidy. But again, you now have a monopolistic market. The NNPC is the one that will also come to determine the price. Then again, they also talk about deregulation of the downstream, which is also part of the removal of subsidy. But it's not the first time we hear of removal of price of subsidy. Every day in Nigeria, government comes to announce removal of subsidy. So we wonder whether this, even as we speak, whether the subsidy has been removed, or whether it's about to be removed, or whether it will be removed in the future, or whether they remove some and some are still there. You know. So, and the kind of denials that come from government. Because at some point people say, no, government is still subsidized, that if not that they are subsidizing, that we ought by now be buying fuel for 1,500 or 1,600 per liter. But, a responsible government should sit down. I expected that Mr. President would have taken over reins of government and then look into the book, go into the books, go to NNPC, find out what's really happening here, get to understand what the issues are, what the problems are, you know, and then once you understand what the problems are, first thing you are supposed to do is to put in place measures to cushion the effect of the policy you are going to unleash on the people. You know, because I hear that the policy of government around this is the CNG, the compressed natural gas, as an alternative to petrol.
Yes.
You know, so
it's about to.
If the CNG, how many CNG, conversion stations? So you need to put all those in place to ensure that if you go to every local government headquarters, for instance, you will find a place to convert your car, if you have a car, to CNG, mode, so that you will reduce purchase of petrol.
Yeah.
You get your CNG, you also get the petrol, because the petrol, what you need if you have it inside your car, if you have the CNG, is that once you crank the engine, that's all. You don't need to use petrol to continue. It will switch automatically, to the CNG gas that is in your vehicle installed. But now, what is the cost of conversion? I hear over 750,000 naira to convert to that. So how many of those, infrastructure has government been able to put in place for people to adjust to CNG that government is introducing to the people? We talk about minimum wage, the average worker, the salary of the worker. You can see how it took, the NLC-TUC, the trouble they had to go through to even arrive at what they decided. And as soon as they arrived at that, government again came up with increasing the price of petrol. The NNPC that they say they are not the one that is tampering with the price, they came again and increased the price. At least in Benin and Evaron, people have been buying petrol for 1,200 naira, per liter. It's killing. Because the implication of such increments on foodstuff, on transportation, on everything, spiraling inflation. Inflation has jumped. So what looking at the address of Mr. President, honestly, I can tell you that it really leaves much to be desired. That is, it leaves less. There's nothing really to be desired. Because listening to him, he had just come to just read an address, and you hear there's protest in Lagos, there's protest in Abuja.
Yes.
It's the first time.
We're taking a look at that.
It's the first time you see that. Nigerians on Independence Day prefer to carry their placards to say no to bad governance. Yeah. So we expected that government will begin to take steps to stop bad governance, reduce the cost of governance. For goodness sake, what do I do with all these ministers all around you? Some of them just dancing, eating pepper soup every day, celebrating on everyone on the social media, dancing. And people are suffering. You hear Mr. Senate President when people are protesting in the month of August. He said you can we will be eating and enjoying ourselves. You can be protesting.
So
no care. Careless government, heartless people, all around in the corridors of power. What do you expect from them?
Comrade Dubo, let me come to you. We'll get back to you. Now, we're taking a look at protests that are rocking different parts of the country on a day that we're supposed to celebrate, freedom from the colonial masters. How do you react to that? And President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's speech that his administration is heightening efforts to nip the narrative of hardship that is plaguing the country. That is, his administration is working around the clock. Do you think that the federal government is really intensifying on efforts to change the narrative of hardship plaguing the country?
Let me first look at the protests. Protest is a symptom of ill governance. When things are not falling in place, an average Nigerian hope is to protest. Again, because they don't believe in judiciary again, the best thing they can do is to protest, to let the world know that they are passing through pain. And that is what you are seeing in this government. It's not enough to say I want to grab power or I want to be in power. What is most paramount is that when the power is given to you, how do you make use of it? My father said the implementation. Do you just come up with a policy on the name of policy? Do you do what called comparative education on the policy you want to make? Have you taken research on that matter to see the weakness and the strength, how it works? Because every country has their own culture, they have their own belief. How would this thing work here? Is there any research of such? You just dabble into a policy because you had of it somewhere. Oh, it's working. I need to buy into it. Do you just do that? No. If you are a good policy maker, you do all your research to ensure that whatever you are bringing in fall within the preview of the common man. When you deviate out of that, your policy is healed. You just walk into, just like I walk into the studio. I'm just telling you, oh, every chair here, remove them. I've not talked about the consequence of that chair you want to remove. The first thing that should come to my mind as someone that is coming into a position new is that there are issues, because that issue brought you in. It was that issue you capitalized on that said, oh, I want to change the narratives. The first thing you should do when you come into power, you sit back and bring all the technocrats, experts from various angles. This issue before us, what do we do? You do a lot of research and get to what you want to do, or else you just jump into it like what Mr. President did. He just jumped into that policy. Subsidy is removed. How are we sure that it's subsidy removed? How are we sure that what he's saying is a fact? How are we sure that oh, we are putting effort? What justifies effort is the outcome of your effort. Whatever anybody is telling anybody as of today is outcome we are looking out for. And if that outcome is not there, there's nothing to write me about. He was talking about, I heard him talking about the security
architecture.
I smile. When I say I smile, even the blind in this country today can tell you that we are faced with insecurity. We are talking about agricultural deficits in Nigeria today. It's not just coming because, oh, they don't know how to farm. It's coming because of this insecurity. What are the bandits doing? What are the terrorists doing? They decide to domicile in the states that produce the food, because they know that when they starve you with food, you are out, and they decide to embark on that. Check all the states they are occupying. These are states that produce food for Nigeria. This is a target, and if this government is sensible enough, they ought to be able to put things in place. I'm hearing about this technology we are still talking about, somebody's hiding. When you can stay here and you have all your gadgets and you put them in place, you can locate someone. When you have your Google map, you don't miss road. And we are still talking about, we are fighting, we are doing this. we are doing that.
This brings to mind of how someone was kidnapped, a U.S. Based in Nigeria was kidnapped here, and the U.S. military, just within a few hours, they deployed some of their personnel to Nigeria, and the person was, rescued alive. So we here in Nigeria, we still have problem of how do we really tackle these issues?
Because the government is not ready to invest into technology. In every country in the world today, technology drives the economy. Technology drives the economy. If you talk about security, talk about health. In fact, today, in the world today, we have what we call e-clinic. Here you don't need to even go to the clinic and say, doctor, come and check me. Put the signs there. Even in your phone, you can put the signs you are getting, and the phone will tell you this is what you are facing, and you go and confirm it in the lab. It will be saying technology. When the government play down on technology, what do you expect? You can advance in any area as of today. Check the world at large. It's technology that is driving it. And if they are ready to solve a lot of issues, it's not like you see people say, this and that. I begin to think the world is dynamic. That ancient time, we are not there again. We are in a new era. So we talk about technology. If the government is actually ready to do a thing to curb this issue of insecurity, it's very, very easy. I will tell you, any government that is committed, it doesn't take 1 month to curb the issue of insecurity in Nigeria. You just said it. Somebody who is not living with you here came here and did the magic. Let me put it like that. And the person was released. And what did they use? Technology. So, when you look at his statements, trying to give statement of hope, to me, is a statement of hopeless. Because you know it. You know what to do. I expect you to be doing it, not telling us. As I always tell my people, I believe in results, not complain. Complain will not take us to anywhere. Pacifying somebody will not take us to anywhere. What take us to where we are supposed to be is our action. When we act, people see it. Oh, you are doing something. It's not about, oh, we are doing it. When he removed subsidy, we all saw it. He acted on it. And we were not facing the what? We are still facing the crisis till date. We talk about regulation. Who regulates who? Both in the electricity and who regulates? The federal government. Let us not deceive ourselves. Because everything is checks and balance. If you want to do a thing outside the context of the policy, the federal government, the government will draw attention to that. This is the so you check, it's checks and balance. So they cannot tell me that everything we talk about independent in Nigeria is partial, not total independent. When you say total independent, just like judiciary, for example, somebody is somewhere and is telling you, do this for me. How are you not independent? If you're independent, you should be able to take a decision, decisive decision yourself, without nobody intruding. By the time people need to intrude, you need to direct your course. It means that there's nothing like that. So when you look at it, look at all this, you will know that I will not see Nigeria as a failed nation. As I have always said, I maintain that is a process. But while we are going in this process, we should be able to guide ourselves and put the right things in the right directions. The square peg in the square hole, the round peg in the round hole, you see that everything fall in place. But whereby you decide to do otherwise, because of sentiment, because of self-interest, because of self-interest.
Yes.
You know that you are not doing that. You will not get to where you are going to. Until we remove all this sentiment, all this I want to eat, I want to eat, I want to eat. Everybody you are bringing in now, what I will get is what everybody is looking for. No, no, no. In our father's days, like Awolowo, Azikiwe, how did they get to where independence? It was because they were united and they were pursuing one course, and that is what informed them to arrive at where we are now called independent. If they were thinking of what they are going to get, what they are going to grab, like what we have today in governance, even in some of our unions too, and I will tell you that they won't have been talking about independence, because even the people you were fighting with, the colonial master, they were ready to offer, they were ready to sacrifice. But because of that one mind, we must ensure that we are independent. They were focused, and the whole thing came to be. Then, instead of us to follow that trend, what do? We need to bring sentiment into it. Oh, this person is a Benin man. I'm a Benin man.
Tribalism.
Oh, it must be. And when I know rightly that this person cannot do that job, I look at face. Oh, is my uncle's son. So you see, when you look at all that, you see that my president have more than enough to do. That takes us to, who are your advisors? Who are your advisors?
We also get to highlight members of his cabinet's efforts, and it's talking about recently that he wants to reshuffle his cabinet. So we'll also look into that. So thank you for that meaningful input. Now let me come to you, Mr. Atap. Taking a look at Nigeria as a country, do you think our present leaders, they are really, complementing the efforts of, those who fought, for the realization of independence today?
I'm sure by today, at 64, the body of Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, they will be shifting in their graves. They will be amazed. They will be appalled that is this the kind of country they fought for. They are disturbed in their graves. They are not happy that all their efforts produce what we have today as Nigeria. People are dissatisfied from the north to the south, east to west. Nigerians are dissatisfied. Just a few of them celebrating. Just a few of them popping champagne. And you can see them. You know them. They dance
for their pockets.
They dance every day. Yes, they grab power to celebrate, to eat. They are acquiring property everywhere. You don't, I should tell you that you're a journalist, go and do your investigation. They are acquiring the whole country. And those of them that grab power, that's what they grab power to do. They are not serving you and I, are they? They are not. They are not. Nigeria is in a terrible state as we speak. And it is my candid advice that we should all, as a people, rise up and take back our country. That Obafemi Awolowo, Sultan of Sokoto, Nnamdi Azikiwe fought for. We should rise to take it back. We should reclaim the country because we need another independence from the current rulers of Nigeria. Because we do not yet have the independence. Yes, we got independence from the white people. Now we are now under the colony of tyrant black leaders in our own country. That's what's happening. We are still under, yes, we had, what do you call it, political independence from, but in terms of economic independence, in terms of, the real political independence. Power is not with the people. Your votes don't count in Nigeria. What are we talking about here? Your votes don't count. Is this democracy that Obafemi Awolowo fought for? That Sultan of Sokoto fought for? Is this the democracy? People were demonstrating between the 1st of August to the 10th. We had some people who were protesting for regime change. in a
Bad
democracy.
governance protest.
In a democracy. What does that tell you? You know, it's not as if anybody clamors for, violent overthrow of government, but if you fail to allow peaceful transition to happen, it means you are calling for the violent overthrow. So you should allow people vote to count, for instance. You know, this is the kind of country we are yet for. Where is the electricity? Where is power? Where is the energy?
Does it mean we are really rich?
Where is the infrastructure? Go to hospital. Just pray hard that that serious sickness don't come to you. You go to hospitals. They are in terrible state. They are in terrible state. Our hospitals. All around, go around. This needs to go around. Where are the hospitals? Where? And then even when you get there, the costs of getting health service. How many people can afford?
Very alarming.
As we speak, go to the pharmacist to buy ordinary medications. The cost, astronomical. People are dying by the day. You don't take the number. You are a journalist, you your investigation. People who die because they do not have the money to buy just simple medications. People are dying. Across, people are dying daily because they do not have access, to healthcare, affordable healthcare. They don't.
Most worrisome is even the hike in cost of living. People are unable to really get food.
We talked about
it's difficult to
policies.
see a family that gets two square meal a day.
We have been discussing.
Even a square meal is becoming difficult.
We have been discussing one leg of the policy unleashed on Nigerians by the Tinubu administration. We have not discussed the second leg. The second leg is, the floating of the naira. Floating of the naira is the biggest problem that we have. An attempt to merge both the parallel market, and the official market, in terms of the US dollar, the foreign currency exchange. And what the economic managers of this government are doing is terrible, because just like it is in the case of the energy sector, they also didn't do their homework before talking about, because you have all kinds of cartels there. When the governors go to Abuja to share the monthly allocation, you know what most of them do? They go to the black market. They go to the black market. They go and change the money. They convert them to dollar. So the pressure is always there in the black market. Government has not been able to deal with that. There are policies everywhere. The NFIU policy, you have the Financial Integrity Policy, the Anti-Corruption Policy, the Police of Crime Act, all of them to fight corruption in Nigeria. But corruption is still pervasive. Pervasive corruption. Both the, what do you call them now, the petty corruption to the, grand corruption. People steal money in government and nothing happens to them. Early in the life of this administration,
we really
two of them in the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, a ministry that was created to address the problem of the poor. People appointed by Tinubu went there, allegedly stole billions of naira. As we speak, aside being suspended for those infractions.
The spate of,
there is not, I expected that Mr. President would have fired.
It's really worrisome.
There should be official dismissal of some people from their position to show that you are really serious to address issues of bad governance. For instance, people steal money every day. The former, a former aviation minister that went and painted, what do you call it now? Painted one aircraft brought from East Africa and said it was Air Nigeria. He brought his uncle or his brother, they all collected all the money in the ministry. As we speak, apart from arraigning them, the man, same day was, he was let on the hook, he just went home. They just went home. So the problem continues. You see, the government needs to be very frontal in dealing with corruption. Because if you look at all the indices, all the indicators of corruption across the world, you see that Nigeria is always the lower rung of the ladder. You talk about Transparency International report, every year, go and look at it historically. We are not doing well. Government after government, they are aware. They even declare, make it a cardinal agenda of government. We want to fight corruption. over everybody is stealing every day, packing all the money every day, packing all the money, shifting all the money. And when you are moving money that way, there is no money you are moving in that fashion that the banks are not aware of. The banks are complicit. Yes, it's going on. And there is also the provision under NFIU for reporting if there is movement of some kind of suspicious transaction. It behoves the bank to report such suspicious transactions. So how many of such reports have actually been given to the anti-graft agencies? And then of course I don't know. You can
really
on and on, a lot to
really
talk about. What about the institutions themselves? The institutions in Nigeria are so weak. The anti-corruption agencies, they are weak. Go in there, find out what is going on. Find out yourself what's going on. They are weak, dealing with all of the issues. Because if you do instead to go and grab the thief that is running inside the hole, you are there, you are even worse than the thief, you go there, and the thief must say, okay, you take the eggs out, leave me alone, and then it happens like that. At the end of the day, it's a vicious cycle. We're just turning round, year in, year out, government after government. We are still speaking the same grammar, the same English every day.
Mr. Leo, we have a whole lot to talk about, a whole lot of issues to really address, because as Nigeria, gradually we are growing. At least it should reflect in developments and all other facets of the country. But now, let me come to you, our amiable teacher. Taking a look at the state of unemployment in the country and the president's speech, there's a part he mentioned that his administration is really doing a whole lot to address unemployment, to engage the youth in gainful ventures and take them off the streets. Youth that are roaming the streets with their certificates. Where are we? Do you agree with the president on that?
One thing is to have your mouth to speak. Another thing is to do what you are expected to do. You and I know out of the truth that nothing like that. As of today, no government can actually address the issue of unemployment if they want to be factual to themselves. Let's take education institution, for example. How many students graduate from Ambosali University? In Edo alone, Uniben will graduate students. BIU will graduate. West Spring will graduate. Iyamo will graduate. Ambosali will graduate. I'm just talking about within Edo.
We have a number of polytechnics.
And I've not talked about polytechnics.
Yeah.
I've not talked about qualifications. Now somebody is telling you, I'm going to address the issue of unemployment.
Creates millions of jobs.
So that is laughable. That one is laughable. Because in the first place, I told you that when you talk about policy, if you fail to implement the actual policy, you face a lot of issues. In fact, what informed the objective of university is not to produce a graduate that will be looking for jobs, white collar jobs. Is to produce a graduate that will be creative and be able to fend for themselves. And that was the reason they reviewed the national policy of education to what we call self-reliance. Self-reliance means when you finish, you are supposed to be able to fend for your family, if not for every other person. So when somebody is talking about, I will come and create an employment, most times we just smile. How many, in the first place, how many people do you need in the various ministries that you feel you can, what you are going to create now will remove everybody from the street? That is a blank lie. It cannot. And that is the more reason, if you watch most schools start to introduce entrepreneurship education into the system. Why? Because they already know that the only way out is for one to be self-reliant. to be self-independent. That is what. So when they talk about, when I'm hearing talking about unemployment and remove the youth, Oga, let's accept the truth. It is not possible. Out of 100%, you can only do just 5%. If it is even up to 5%, let us not deceive ourselves. Since 1999 till date, how many graduates have the universities in Nigeria produced? How many people have been given employment? What is the leftover? For 1 year alone, the government cannot even incorporate them into the system. Only 1 year graduates cannot even incorporate them into the system. Again, when you look at the entire system, until we strengthen our institution, nothing fall in place. Our institutions, starting from the police, from the army, name it, from the electoral view, the INEC, or not until they are left alone to actually do their job. Let us not deceive ourselves. We are still where we are. Because if I create an institution and I become the umpire of that institution, these people, they are independent. Meanwhile, I am the person doing the control. You can't get what the aim of establishing such an institution will be defeated.
Thank you, Mr. Comrade James Idubo. Thank you very much for your contribution. We've been taking a look at the journey so far as Nigeria celebrates 64th independence anniversary with Comrade James Idubo. Comrade James Idubo is the chairman of the TUC and ASU's Edo State Council, and also with Mr. Leo Atakpo, the Deputy Executive Director of African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ. We'll take a short break and we return. We conclude the program. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Thanks for still being there on the program. Political Insights with a focus on Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary. The journey so far. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in his nationwide state broadcasting, in his nationwide broadcast, acknowledged that his administration is not unmindful of the array of problems bedeviling the country at the moment, and that his administration is working around the clock. It's not resting on its oars to nip them in the bud. And here we'll be taking a look at all of these issues as Nigeria commemorates 64th independence anniversary with Mr. Leo Atakpo, the Deputy Executive Director of African Network for Environment and Economic Justice, ANEJ. Also here with us in the studio is Comrade James Idubo, Chairman of the CUC and ASU's Edo State Council. So, sir, we've been taking a look at Nigeria at 64, and we've highlighted the various problems that are, confronting us as a nation. So, now let's take a look at the way forward. We begin with you, Comrade Idubo. What's the way forward? How can we really surmount the various problems that are facing us as a nation and move forward?
Good afternoon. There's no problem without solution. But the first thing is that you recognize that there's a problem. Once you recognize that there's a problem, you now begin to put all the machineries in place. One of the powers we have identified that one of the problem is poor implementation of policy and reckless policy put in place. And all this can be addressed if we decide to put the machineries in place. First and foremost, like the institution, for instance, the government must remove their hands and leave them alone to be independent as pronounced. Once you do that, they cannot decide for themselves. They're not looking at your hands. They're not looking at what you are going to say. They cannot act on their own. 2, they must try as much as possible to invest into technology, because technology drives the world as of today. We must also look at the kind of human being we entrust power, because if you entrust power into a wrong individual, you will mess up all your plans. From the beginning, the people who instituted independence were having good mindsets. But the nature of leaders that have been produced over the years are the major problem. And when we begin to look inward and allow the people's votes to count, not involving vote buying or whatever, to put yourself into it, because you know that people are hungry. You start them.
Seizing power at all costs.
So whatever you now give to them, they'll quickly rush it. So you are not taking it as a bait to get power. No, that shouldn't be. If we actually want to get it right, we must allow a level playing ground, whereby let those that are to be led choose whosoever they want. We'll get it right. But when we begin to say we must get it hook or by crook, it becomes a problem. So Nigeria as a whole, we must imbibe the culture of holding brief for one another. Not, oh, it's my turn now, forgetting that somebody is behind. When we begin to do all this, taking care of ourselves. And again, whatever we are talking about now starts from us, not from the government. If the little office we are given, we are able to handle it well, when we also get to that place, I also believe that we'll be able to do more. So you can see that there's so many things that this government can do. Let them look inward. Check who are the advisors, who are the executives, who are the senators, who are those in the rep. What is their vision? What is their mission? Why are they there? By the time they're able to do all this, harmonize all this, we'll be able to get to the right path. So when the government is also bringing up a policy, it should also do research on that policy, how that policy will work in favor of the masses. Because anything you do outside the favor of the masses is e-government. Because you are elected to govern the people and to bring joy and succor to the people. When you fail to do that, it comes from the government, because you are governing people. So whatever policy you are putting in place, let it be that it's the policy that will favor both the poor, the rich, and the needy. And when you do that, you see that everything falls in place. Ourselves, we must also talk to ourselves. We must be disciplined enough to say, let those that are supposed to be there be, not forcing ourselves on the people. That, oh, must be. Probably because you have one power over there. You feel, oh, that my brother that is there is giving me back up. No, if God gives you back up, it's more, it's better than looking at man over there. So that is some of those things that can be put in place to ensure that all this issue will be put to an end.
Thank you very much, Comrade Jidubo. Now, Mr. Liu, at 64, we are still grappling with how to get it right. From your own view, do you think it's possible to get it right? What's the way forward?
Well, in my considered opinion, I think that where we are today in Nigeria, we can still get it right. You know? But I would like to look at it from efforts that has to be made, both by the supply side, that is government, and the demand side, that is those of us, the people. I would like to also categorize that into short-term, medium-term, and the long-term strategies that can be put in place to get it out of the wood. First, those in charge of state affairs, Mr. President and his team, they must sit back and take the bitter pill. What I mean by that is that first, we have a crisis on our hand. What do? You come up with, your own solution. They need to cut down the cost of governance in Nigeria. We need to cut down the cost of governance in Nigeria for the short term. Mr. President and his team need to shut down corruption. Because if they don't do that, then the problem may continue to fester. Corruption has permeated all facets and fabrics of the society. Top down everywhere. Corruption stinking everywhere. So government must take that decision, bold decision. First of all, you purge yourself. That's what I mean by taking the bitter pill. You purge yourself. You say, I will, because change will start with me. When I'm saying you change, I should change first. You purge yourself and say, I will no longer be a corrupt president. I will no longer be a corrupt senator. And then you take the decision. Top down, it will cascade. And so when you are traveling now from Benin City to Lagos, we will not see any one policeman collecting 100 naira on the road from the driver, from the commercial vehicle driver. Then we will also know that when you go to any public institution, nobody will ask you for a cutback or something. The petty corruption must be shut down. The grand corruption must be shut down. The institutions of government must be made to work. All those people that are transferring money, from one account to offshore places, to secret places overseas, must be shut down. The whole idea there is that government must focus on internal revenue generation. Government must focus on building infrastructure and systems. Institutions.
Not just, yes, effective. There is really need for effective utilization of IGR generated.
I'm still
because
yes, I'm still in the immediate. The immediate. Then you go to the medium. Then you go to in the medium. Government need to also look at our ground now, the Constitution that really guides every one of us. Where are we today? Because in the days when we had our independence, we went into regional government. And I hear that there is a bill that is going around that is proposing a regional government for Nigeria, a return to regional government. Because if you look at it, the presidential system of government that we have been operating, that the military forces on us through the 1979 Constitution as amended, or 1999 Constitution as amended, it's been so problematic. Because all those gamut of government officials that have been created in the Constitution, everybody collect their salary, they collect this, and then apart from collecting their salaries, whatever revenue allocation that is given to them for public good to administer state affairs, they just treat it the way they like. But we need to look at that Constitution. Is it really working? For me, the presidential system of government in Nigeria is damn expensive, and we need to discard it. We need to do away with it. And so in the medium term, government should look at the possibility of, coming up, evolving, maybe a constitutional conference, you may call it, give it any name. Let the people of Nigeria really come together and agree on the kind of constitution and the system of government they want. Not the one that a few people in the Supreme Military Council started on and foisted on us. And then if you talk about the geopolitical divides in terms of, and then now, who created the states? The military men. Started down, they use their knife, they give their own villages, state capital, and all of that. And that's what we have today. So, but we need a Nigeria where we look at that document, that ground norm that we need a Nigeria where we look at that document, that ground norm that we all subscribe to, that spells out our laws, and every law derives from it. So let us look at that Constitution again. Are we really sure that this is the kind of stuff we want? In my considered opinion, the Constitution as it stands today, is something that is problematic, and we really need to do away with it. And then we replace it with a people's constitution that the people will really decide. Replace it with a people's constitution that the people will really decide that this is the system of government they want. For me, if you ask me if I go to that conference, I will support, a lean government. Because center is so attractive a lean government. Because center is so attractive under the presidential system. In the various regions, they'll develop their resources for the presidential system. In the various regions, they'll develop their resources for the welfare of their state, for the control of their states. And so you are at liberty to generate, and then you pay tax to the central government. What we have today is that all eyes on crude oil being operated by the federal government. They come to where you have any crude oil, they collect it, and then they heap it in one. Some of those states,
utilizing them for effective development.
Those states, the states who have the themselves, they are not viable. Just count them, they will not be more than 3 or 4 states that are viable. And that's because all eyes are on crude oil. So for me, we need to begin now to look back, sit back and then check, where did we get it wrong? Because for you to be able to make progress, you must take stock. Where are we coming from? Where did we get it wrong? That is one area we got it wrong. We need to also review the past back to say, no, let's have a lean government. A government that's not attractive. In fact, if you want to be a legislator, let it be part-time. If you go to Sweden, you'll be in the same train with the lawmaker. He don't know, a minister, a serving minister. You'll be in the same train. He comes and he enters his bicycle, he rides to State House where he's going to work. But in Nigeria, when the minister is coming, the siren everywhere, he'll push people everywhere, because they have amassed so much wealth, even more than what they are supposed to earn constitutionally. They just push people. So we need to get that right and make sure that we have a constitution that can be supported by the resources that we have. And then when you do that, then you have a long-term planning. And China shut their doors against the whole world. Yeah, they focused on their own nation. They did that for a couple of years before they opened up again. And by the time they opened up, they have put systems in place. And today, China, that was almost at the same power with Nigeria at independence, is now one of the contending superpowers of the world. So we need now to put at the long-term range strategies in place to ensure that Nigeria becomes self-reliant in all we consume. It's only in Nigeria you see that our own assemblymen will go to Japan and book for luxurious exotic SUVs to come as the official vehicles.
Yes.
If you go to South Korea, their president drives their own South Korean car. Gladly. No matter how small, no matter how they fix it.
Some of our leaders, they really, they try to encourage people to patronize.
You see them everywhere with their big Porsche cars from Europe and America, and from paper. Manufacture those things.
Mr.
And
Leo,
when those are the things, when you keep manufacturing, because when you're talking about unemployment, you must create that enabling environment for employment to be created. Government cannot, how many people can government employ? Whether federal, state, all of them put together, local. How many can they employ? They cannot employ, or but what they need do, what government need do, you know, is to create the enabling environment. And what's the enabling environment? Provide infrastructure, put the electricity in place. Electricity is a major power. It's a major input into manufacturing. If you take away the costs of power from production in Nigeria, you know, you are way almost half in terms of cost of production. Yeah? You need to also put in place access to clean, potable water. Roads. So whoever is producing, there's access to take your goods and services, you know, out of wherever you're operating from. So that is not in place currently in Nigeria. So in the immediate, government needs to look into all of that. So on the long range, you can come up with a 50-year development plan, 70-year development plan, because that's what responsible countries do. You know, you put that plan in place to ensure that in the next 50 years, this is where I want to, in the next 10 years, this is where I want to see Nigeria, in the next 20 years. So any government that's coming, whatever the demand side, we need, as ordinary people, as ordinary Nigerians, we need to continually hold our governments accountable. Whatever policies that are in place today, we have all the best policies. All the laws, statutes, name them, we have them in place. But it is the implementation of those laws that has been challenging and concerning. So for us, as civil society, as ordinary people, we should continue to ask the questions, the right questions. We should continue to hold them to account because there are just a few of them. Count all of them at the national, state, put all of them together and compare them to the rest of us. Compare them to the rest of us.
Mr. Leo.
They are insignificant few holding this nation to
Mr. Leo,
ransom.
if we are to continue this conversation, we'll just be here today because there are really a whole lot to talk about. But just before we round off the program, what are you wishing Nigeria at 64?
Oh, I wish Nigeria, may God bless Nigeria.
Amen. Amen. What are you wishing Nigeria, I'm able to check?
Before I put my wishes, there's an opportunity to tell you that my program is coming up 5th of October, World Teachers Day.
Okay.
And I expect everybody to be there. And I know that it's part of the wish of me that every teacher be part of that program. Again, what I'm wishing Nigeria is that we get to that enviable height that we want to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the duo of Corman James Dubo and Mr. Leo Atapu for your contributions on the program. We are really grateful. Thank you very much. We'll be taking a look at the journey so far and Nigeria at 64. The journey so far, and our guests here, they preferred the way forward. We hope to see the lights at the end of the tunnel. The promised light, the light President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised in his nationwide broadcast, that it will come at the end of the tunnel. We hope to see that light. From the studio of VOS TV Nigeria, we say a very happy 64th independence anniversary to Nigeria. God bless Nigeria. God bless everyone. Thanks for watching the program. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
address you today, I am deeply aware of the struggles many of you face in these challenging times. Our administration knows that many of you struggle with rising costs and the search for meaningful employment. I want to assure you that your voices are heard. As your president, I assure you that we are committed to finding sustainable solutions to alleviate the suffering of our citizens. Once again, I plead for your patience as the reforms we are implementing show positive signs, and we are beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. My administration took over leadership of our country 16 months ago at a critical juncture. The economy faced many headwinds, and our physical security, where we must choose between two paths: reform for progress and prosperity, or carry on the business as usual and collapse. We decided to reform our political economy and defense architecture. On the security front, I am happy to announce to you, my compatriots, that our administration is winning the war on terror and banditry. Our target is to eliminate all threats of Boko Haram, banditry, kidnapping for ransom, and the scourge of all forms of violent extremism. Within 1 year, our government has eliminated many Boko Haram and bandit commanders faster than ever. As of the last count, over 300 Boko Haram and bandit commanders have been eliminated by our gallant troops in the northeast, northwest, and some other part of the country. We have restored peace to hundreds of communities in the north, and thousands of our people have been able to return home. It is an unfinished business, I agree, which our security agencies are committed to ending as quickly as possible. As soon as we can restore peace to many communities in the troubled part of the north, our farmers can return to their farms. We expect to see a leap in food production and a downward spiral in food costs. I promise you, we shall not falter on this. Our country attracted foreign direct investment worth more than $30 billion in the last year. Fellow compatriots, our administration is committed to free enterprises, free entry, and free exit in investment while maintaining the sanctity and efficacy of our regulatory processes. This principle guides the divestment transaction in our upstream sector, where we are committed to changing the fortune positively. As such, ExxonMobil surplus divestment will receive ministerial approval in a matter of days, having been concluded by the regulator, NUPRC, in line with the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA. This was done in the same manner as other qualified divestment approved in the sector. The move will create vibrancy and increase oil and gas production positively, impacting our economy. The central concern of our people today is the high cost of living, especially food costs. This concern is shared by many around the globe as prices and the cost of living continue to rise worldwide. My fellow Nigerians, please be assured that we are implementing many measures to reduce the cost of living here at home. I commend the governors, particularly in Kebbi, Niger, Jigawa, Kwara, Nasarawa, and other Southwest governors that have embraced our agricultural production program. I urge other states to join the federal government in investing in mechanized farming. We are playing our part by supplying fertilizer and making tractors and other farm equipment available. Last week, the Federal Executive Council approved establishing a local assembly plant for 2,000 John Deere tractors, combine harvesters, disc riders, bottom plows, and other farm equipment. The plant has a completion time of 6 months. Our energy transition program is on course. We are expanding the adoption of the presidential initiative on compressed natural gas for mass transit with private sector players. The federal government is ready to assist the 36 states and FCT in acquiring CNG buses for cheaper public transportation. Our government is implementing several other youth-centric programs good to give our young people an advantage in rapid changing world. We are implementing, among others, the 3 million technical program of the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy, aimed at building Nigeria's technical talent backbone. We have also enthusiastically implemented the Nigerian Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, which provides cheap loans to our students to pursue their tertiary educational dream. In addition, later this month, we shall launch the Renewable Hope Labor Employment and Empowerment, the LEAP. It is conceived as a comprehensive suite of interventions and job creation by Federal Ministry of Labor and Employment that is aimed at facilitating the creation of 2.5 million jobs directly and indirectly. Fellow Nigerians, better days are ahead of us. The challenge of the moment must always make us believe in ourselves. We are Nigerians, resilient and tenacious. We always prevail and rise above our circumstances. I urge you to believe in our nation's promise. The road ahead may be challenging, but we will forge a path towards a brighter future with your support. Together, we will cultivate a Nigeria that reflects the aspiration of all its citizens, a nation that resonates with pride, dignity, and shared success. As agents of change, we can shape our destiny and build a brighter future by ourselves, for ourselves, and future generations. Please join us and join our administration in this journey towards a brighter future. Let us work together to build a greater Nigeria where every citizen can access opportunities and every child can grow up with hope and promise. May God continue to bless our nation and keep members of our armed forces safe. Happy